So I've been using the BandLab app for about 1 month now on both my iPad Pro and the iPad Mini even. So today I want to tell you if it's any good. Let's talk about it. So here we are in 2022, and yes, there are plenty of free solutions that you can use to make beats or get your music production started, and even collaborate these days on these mobile devices and even for desktop and laptop solutions. I mean, because let's face it, not every aspiring musician has the budget to invest in any software or hardware or even dedicated devices for music production. This is where BandLab comes in. BandLab just so happened to be a free solution, cloud-based solution that really encourages collaboration, creativity, and overall just getting the basics done with your music production. Whether that be vocals, mixing, composing, all the tools that you're probably going to need for just the basics are pretty much inside of BandLab. What's even better than BandLab being free is the fact that it's not specific to any operating system or device. You can definitely use this on Android, iPhone, laptop, desktop, browser. It doesn't even matter. So let's do a quick dive in and I'll show you some of the ins and outs of the BandLab interface. So opening up BandLab, you'll notice that it has a very community style, almost social media type interface where you can browse other people's projects and find some quick inspiration for when you're trying to make your own beats. For the first tab, you have the home tab. This gives you a chance to meet new people and check out what they're working on. So like I said, this is very, very community based and hands-on. And if I had to compare it to anything, I would say it would be more like if SoundCloud created an app that lets you make beats within inside of their social platform. That would be sort of like a BandLab thing. Yeah. So in the second tab, you can also explore different albums and different projects that people have published. And then you have a notification bell tab to see who's liked your music or who's following you, that sort of thing. You know, social media type stuff. You could start a new composition and start something completely from scratch, or you can go to this projects folder and you can see all of your current projects that you've been working on. So let's go to something that I was working on today. So we're looking at the BandLab app from my iPad, which is the iOS ecosystem. But it's actually pretty cool because whether you're looking at it from the iPhone, your Android, or even a web browser from a laptop or desktop computer, it's all pretty much very familiar. It's all pretty much the same layout. So you can see that the last time I worked on this particular track was around 6:56 today. And I started it yesterday, and that's when I published it. That's when I saved it to the app. So let's go ahead and tap it, and we can preview it. So if I wanted to continue to build on this, let's go into the mix editor and let me show you how I made this track. Once again, the overall layout is super easy to understand and super easy to use. Track number 1, we're going to double tap that, and then it brings up our pad sampler. Anybody familiar with like pad sampling, all you have to do is press and hold, and then you have your sample being recorded. Press and hold, and then you have your sample being recorded. So that's as simple as that. But if you press the edit tab, you can also delete. You can delete those pads and edit these out, or you can import your own samples. So if you have samples already on, like if you bought a sound pack or one shots or something like that from your favorite producer, or you have some samples from, let's say, Splice or something like that, you can import those sounds directly into BandLab's interface and use them to make your own beats. Or you could use some of the built-in samples that BandLab provides. There are tons of packs and tons of folders that you can use. And you can browse this top panel for the different categories of type of beats you want to make or type of sound that you want to use. So it lets you preview all of your samples and all your sounds and stuff like that before you download it to your device. And so I've already used some samples and some sounds. As well as use some of my own drums that I built in. Even from this tab, you can still edit these pads, and you can get into a little bit of sound design with how you manipulate these. Now, I do feel like some of this is a little bit limited when compared to some of the other flagship DAWs as far as manipulating and editing. But for the most part, if you're just getting into beat making, this is everything you'll need to kind of sculpt your sound to what you want. So down at the bottom, you have your play and your record button. On this main page here, you have your sequencer. You have a basic piano roll stuff. This definitely makes it very easy to get used to sequencing out your beats and laying out your drum patterns or your instrument patterns. I think as a beat maker in my particular use case, I think it is really, really easy to start understanding the concept of beat sequencing. BandLab actually has some built-in presets for virtual instruments. The on-screen keyboard is actually kind of awkward. I don't really like using on-screen keyboards because, you know, I'm a more tactile musician. I actually like to use MIDI controllers. The one thing that did bother me about this though is that I couldn't really find any MIDI mapping options on the app or any external MIDI settings period. Using an external MIDI controller is really huge in my workflow, especially when it comes to using mobile devices. I don't really like the on-screen keyboards, so I really wished I could find a MIDI settings menu on here. But if you're not plugged directly into the device using some type of dongle and a wired cable, a wired USB-C cable or USB cable with your device, it's going to be really hard trying to connect any Bluetooth MIDI controllers. So just like on the pads, you can browse through the top panel using the categories. So let's go with keyboards. So right now I'm using the a MIDI controller to record this in. So the really dope thing about this and why I think this is really good, especially for a free app, is that once you're done with this, you can export this and publish it to your profile. This way people can listen to it, or if you have a private link, you can send this off to somebody and they can use that link to grab those files or even add to your composition. Let me show you. You can either save it to the cloud and it's now published as a new revision, and then you can add a description and a genre for it. This is now saved to your profile. So if we go back a step, you can now hear our revision that we've just added. So if we go back and then we can see that it's published a new revision, we can now preview that. So now that we made revisions to our link, we can use this copy link. We can send this to our collaborator so that somebody else can add some more to it, music or vocals or even a client. If we're making music for a client, you can use this to kind of arrange your composition and kind of get feedback in a way that you really wouldn't be able to just sending files back and forth, and then now you got to make new revisions and send so many emails and WeTransfers. This way everything stays in the cloud and you could just send a simple link and your client or your collaborator can make the adjustments they need to using the same type of interface or using the app themselves and build upon your collaboration. I could even see this being useful for people who have pre-existing project files like stems and instrument files or even vocal files that they want to import into BandLab and send those files to a collaborator and have them arrange those pieces, or even use those files to mix them down properly in one of their flagship DAWs or whatever you want to use. The way this is set up to all go into a cloud, and it has built-in effects and everything that you can do to reference what you're trying to get done. Somebody could receive the link that you sent, use your idea and your mock-up and take it and put better plugins on it from their DAW or their device. They can access it from any device and build upon an idea that you've created to make a bigger project. Even if you only know the basics of music production, somebody could clearly see what you are trying to do and make those revisions and send it back to the cloud, and you can see it real time. Not to mention being able to make collaborative changes, but even adding lyrics to your projects and even leaving some detailed notes in the notes section of your project. The fact that there are so many different ways and different use cases for BandLab's platform, I've said this before, the fact that this even exists and it's free could be a total game changer for any music production or any creative musician. Recording vocals, making beats, recording samples, using the built-in effects. So do I think that BandLab is any good? Yes. It's good if you know the basics of music production, or even if you don't. If you're just getting familiar with recording yourself and getting familiar with sequencing and arranging beats or arranging things like vocals or adding effects, this is a very good place to start. I'm Brandon Rico. These are my thoughts on BandLab in 2022. Thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for rocking with the channel. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content like this in the future. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.